most of us will be sitting around a Thanksgiving table with loved ones telling each other what we are thankful for. And in the spirit of the holiday, listen to this, the Harris campaign, they got back together this week around a table. But no one was in a good mood to say thanks. Instead, they came up with grievances and even a bit of denial on the side. Just listen to Harris senior advisor and former Obama campaign manager David Plouffe.
It was a dead heat race, but, at the end of the day, the political atmosphere was pretty brutal. Given that we had a challenging political environment, the fact that we got the race to dead heat was positive. So I think where Kamala Harris campaigned, we were able to keep the tide down a little bit. Margin of error race where we inherited a deficit, we got it to even.
What is he talking about? A dead heat got it to even? Trump won all 7 swing states, all 7 of them. He won the popular vote outright, the first Republican to do that in 20 years. Trump also got more votes in raw vote total than any Republican nominee in history. And all 50 states, including D.C., moved closer to the right. But the race was close, really? That's what they're going with? I mean, in hindsight, the race was never in doubt because Kamala Harris refused to break away from Joe Biden. During the campaign, I remember this, NBC told us that her reticence to break from Biden was because, according to one source, quote, her level of loyalty is incredible. But was her loyalty really the problem?
She felt like she was part of the administration, so why should she look back and cherry pick some things that she would have done differently when she was part of it? And she had tremendous loyalty to President Biden. Imagine if we said, well, we would have taken this approach on the border. Imagine the round of stories coming out after that of people saying, well, she never said that in a meeting, or what meeting when she said this, or I remember when she did that. And it wasn't going to give us what we needed because it wouldn't be a clean break. The best we could do, and the most that she felt comfortable with, was saying, like, look, vice presidents never break with their presidents.
The truth is, she never pushed back on Biden in meetings, ever. She was complicit in the 4-year decline of America, and she knew if she suggested otherwise, Biden's vindictive staff would leak like a sieve to the press. It's why the campaign spent 5 weeks hiding her from the media, because they simply could not figure out the answer to the easiest question: how are you different than Joe Biden? But the Harris campaign is still full of excuses, and they say it is not their fault. No, it's the media's. Watch Kamala's campaign manager, Jen O'Malley-Dillon.
I am not media hater by any measure. And I think that, we women don't get far in life talking about double standards. So that's not the point. 107 days, 2 weeks up because of a hurricane, 2 weeks talking about how she didn't do interviews. Real people heard in some way that we were not going to have interviews, which was both not true and also so counter to any kind of standard that was put on Trump that I think that was a problem. And then on top of that, we would do an interview, and to Stephanie's point, the questions were small and processy and about
dumb.
They were not informing a voter who was trying to listen to learn more or to understand.
Well, if the goal was to inform voters, maybe the Harris campaign should have done a little less call her daddy and more Fox News or even Joe Rogan, who they say they just had no time for. But meanwhile, they were begging to be interviewed by this YouTube show called The Hot Ones, where guests sit down and eat spicy chicken wings. Now, how would that have informed voters? Would that have moved the needle? The YouTube show actually denied Kamala's request. So was the Harris campaign really that out of touch? I mean, even Democrats, strong Democrats, avowed ones to the Kamala campaign, are realizing it.
It was disappointing at best, hearing their lack of self-awareness, their lack of self-reflection, the inability to figure out a way in which you could win this race simply providing messaging and saying that we're up, whereby you don't believe that in your heart of hearts to be true. I just think was disappointing.
But the campaign is not in the mood to be lectured by Bakari Sellers. They are playing the victim card.
It's a party problem. Republicans don't make Trump apologize. And as Stephanie said, we don't have to mimic it. But I think that there are a lot of times where if you're in the Democratic Party and you step out of line, you get punished for it. We put out an ad with a cuss word in it, and the amount of feedback that we got was insane.
But someone has to get punished here. I mean, they lost. And the Squad says the campaign made a huge misstep by flaunting Liz Cheney's endorsement. The great Ilhan Omar says, quote, "It does say something about where your priorities are, even if those are not your priorities." Some Democrats say they lost because they were scared of their donors.
I think that they need to change their policies.
It's a policy thing.
Yes, it's 100% a policy thing.
Because I'll say,
which is the boring answer. Although it would be very self-serving for me to say, I'm the left's Joe Rogan, the Democratic Party should give me millions of dollars. That's not going to solve this problem. What will solve this problem is if the Democratic Party actually adopts real left-wing economic populist messaging instead of purposefully avoiding that stuff because they're terrified of upsetting their corporate donors.
I mean, man, this list of excuses is getting longer than Hillary's infamous scroll of scapegoats after the 2016 election. Democrats are going to have to do a serious autopsy around the Thanksgiving table tomorrow, and they have to figure out what to do with Kamala. Some Democrats never want to see her again. They're begging her to not run in 4 years. They don't even want her to run for governor of California.
The thing that troubles me about Kamala Harris and that Politico story that reported that this morning is, okay, maybe she'll run for governor of California. Maybe she'll run for president again. I still don't know what she stands for, which is part of the reason that she lost. You know, the campaign did not have a message that connected with voters. There was a lack of authenticity.
Kamala and Biden created a mess. That's the truth. And it's so bad that Democrats have to start from scratch. Listen to the Washington Post. They say this: "We suggest that the best place to start is in the very states that are losing population. Ideally, Democrats could point to the states where they control government in their largest cities as demonstration projects that show Democratic policies could work for the nation. At the moment, they are not."
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.